Better than the F-bomb.
Ooh. Yeah, that's better. Survivor Specials Phil and Alexa are back. Episodes 7 through 9 of Survivor Panama. The Mina 3 are gone, and Terry's the only one left. And that's the end of our podcast for tonight. See you guys next week.
And that's all there is to it. There's the occasional, Shane has Sari help him out with a medical issue. Courtney fire dances. And that's it. Yep, that's all we got for you.
So if you want to tune in next week, we will be back at the usual time to talk about the Kasaya 6 actually falling apart and Terry managing
to survive. Tweet at us, leave a comment on this video. We'll see you next week.
Oh my God. It's like, it's like not that it's boring. It's not a boring 3 episodes, but it's such a frustrating 3 episodes because the first episode is Terry's chance to actually play the idol and change the game. And by him not doing it there, you just know the next 2 boots are Austin and Sally, and you're just like smashing your head against the wall because you're like, this is so obvious. And Terry, like, they all want to get rid of Terry, but even if they try to vote for Terry, Terry has the idol. I'm really surprised we saw no split votes, but I guess they couldn't do a split vote at the Sally boot because Terry had the idol, and then that would have shown who the low man on the totem pole was. But, like, this first tribal, after Terry wins immunity over Nick, and they know that Nick is going to get the votes, and they put 4 on Shane. First of all, I don't know if it's a good or bad move to put the votes on Shane, considering Shane was never going to vote with them. But he's also still not the leader of that alliance, so I don't know if that's a good or bad move. But aside from that, if Terry plays the idol here for Nick and somebody goes home from the Kasaya 6, I actually do think Bruce probably flops. Because then Bruce can play with them. And this is, again, where my Dan thing comes in. If Dan was still in the game, and Terry was able to play the idol for somebody and flip them, then you can promise Bruce final 3 with the old men, which is what I think the problem was here. Nobody was getting a better deal than final 5. And that's not much better than 6.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And not to interrupt your rant, but
no,
Terry's sell is you're good for 10 days. If someone tells me I'm good for 10 days, why would I work with them? Because then I have to worry again. After those 10 days, it's such an awful sell. And then, like you said, the first time he should use that idol is at that first merged tribal council, because then as his own numbers, Mina's own numbers dwindle, there's less and less use for that idol because you're not selling anything good anymore. You're just selling, this will save us for 1 vote, and then you can just go back to your tribe, which still has the numbers.
What was dumb here with this too is like Terry's acting like he's offering them stuff, and I loved Suri it's almost laughable because it is, and this is Terry being just god awful at the social game. At least when he doesn't have, like, he's good at controlling people, but when he doesn't really know them and has to actually work his way in, he doesn't know how to do it. And it's really funny to like watch this because he's literally promising Shane and Suri final 6, which is what Shane and Suri are guaranteed anyway. So, like, what are you promising them? You need to go to these people and say final 3, you, me, Austin, Bruce. That's it. Like, that's whatever. That's how you sell this. Terry did such a bad job that it was actually detrimental for him trying to that alliance because Nick and Austin, not that they were doing much better, but Terry's doing so bad that, like, it's almost going back on any type of movement that Nick, Austin, and Sally were making.
Right. And the thing with Nick and Austin and Sally is they seem to have some form of relationship with the rest of the Kasaya 6. Obviously, that group is so tight-knit that getting someone to flop is going to be difficult anyways. But they seem to have some sort of relationship. Austin, after getting stuck on exile with Danielle, that obviously propels some sort of friendship or kinship at the very least. But because Terry is also their #1 competition, Shane says in episode it's actually episode 10 because episode 7 was the closer look. So that was my mistake on the tweet. But Shane even says, he's like, can I just get rid of you? Like, can you just leave? Like, he's the one that they want to get rid of the most. And so he's almost not the one who should have been doing the negotiating. It should have been Austin or Sally or someone who's at least liked by the other group. I don't think they dislike Terry yet, but he's not the one they want to be working with right now.
No, at Final 10, I think the problem is they don't dislike Terry yet. But like you said, he's the biggest threat. He's the #1 target. He's who everybody wants to get rid of. So by him doing all of the negotiating, like, you're putting yourself in a bad spot. And I'm telling you, this keeps coming back, and I'm going to keep bringing it up until I die. The Dan thing. Dan is an older member that Bruce could probably see himself aligning with. I don't think Bruce really felt a connection to Austin and Nick aside from a machete to the face. Like, I don't feel like he felt much with them.
Forgot about that.
Right? He's like great with Terry, but with the other two, I think he saw it as almost fake. And he's like, I'm getting just as much respect from them as I am from the rest of the Kasaya Six. So screw it, I'll stick with them. I wish I could work with Terry, but I just can't make it work. You have somebody like Dan. The older people are going to be more willing to work with somebody like Dan because nobody can stand how competitive Terry is, and nobody can stand these younger guys who are going to whoop their ass in a challenge.
So I have two things here. One, you reminded me with the machete. Bruce had a confessional right afterwards, and he said, quote, I'm not leaving the game. I'll tell you that, which goes back to the depressing Bruce arc that we're watching with him going to exile so many times. He gets slapped in the face with a machete. Just the way that you know that Bruce goes is what makes that whole scene so sad. Yeah. But let's talk about your Dan theory because I want to know about it more. I think everyone wants to talk about it. So I agree with you there, but walk me through how that correlates to minimal Panama returnees. That is a correlation that I have yet to understand.
I think that actually here it becomes a little bit more apparent to me, only because with these 3 episodes, and this is why Panama always ranks a little bit lower for me, is because Terry is your hero of this season. And yes, Aris in these 3 episodes is so much better than in the previous 6. But Terry is your hero here. Even Suri is no longer your hero if you're actually watching arcs for this season.
Suri is very quiet right
now. Very quiet.
She's like, I even wrote down, where is Suri?
This is my least favorite version of Suri. Like, I'm not kidding. This is my least favorite version. And I always said that. And like, people are always like, you're crazy. I think she's very good in this season. But if you're going to say who's your favorite person from this season, I can probably throw 3 or 4 people above Suri. She just has a really great story.
Yeah, because you have a lot of her at the beginning, which is great, and you get a lot of her at the end. But in the middle, which is her playing a good game because she's sneaking her way into that group and solidifying it. But we're not really talking to her. She's pretty uninvolved.
Yeah, she's very uninvolved because she has to stay quiet in the insanity of that tribe. Mm-hmm. And this is what I'm talking about is like, who owns these 3 episodes? It's the Lamina 4, who the only one you get to know is Terry because everybody else goes out too fast. And it's Bruce, who gets medevaced. And it's Aris who wins, and Shane. And that's really it. You miss out on Courtney. You get some from Danielle, but most of that is still branching off of the hope that Austin is going to bond with her. You get some from, like, Courtney, you get, like, the fire dancing. That's really about it. And then who's the other one? Suri, like, I'm telling you, like, it's crazy to me how little Suri is actually in these episodes. So I feel like because Terry is so bad at the social game, it actually hurts his chances of coming back because he didn't have anybody that he could work with to push forward, to get in with anybody, to make any type of move happen. I think it hurts a lot of people's chances of coming back because I think that had there been at least one blindside in this season, at least one before all the Lamina are gone, I think that goes down as one of those moments where, like, imagine if that person could have played again. You know, like, it's the whole thing with, like Boston Rob just decimating his tribe pre-merge. He doesn't make the jury, gets to come back and play on All-Stars because they said, imagine if he could have gotten that one more chance. Nobody here has the opportunity to prove that, what would happen if they had one more chance, because nobody's able to break in even a little bit. Like, nothing happens.
But Terry was going to come back regardless. Like, Terry was going to return. Like you said, he's the hero of the season. They were going to get him to return. And like we had talked about on the previous podcast, we had kind of flirted with the idea of putting him on heroes versus villains. And that's just Terry. Like, walk me through why the others haven't, like, how Dan affects the others not returning so quickly.
Well, he definitely affects Austin because I think if Dan stays in the game, Austin has a better chance to go further because I think everybody genuinely liked Austin. And this comes down to, I think everybody on the Kasaya 6 liked the Lamina 4 more than they liked the people they were working with. Mm-hmm. It's just that they were just like, oh, I can't switch over. I can't switch over. And that's why I think Terry is the worst old man to have left. Because as much as Bruce respects him, nobody else really does, and they're all kind of irritated by how good he is at stuff. Whereas, like, let's say even if Terry was gone and that was Dan, who was sitting there, I think Bruce is more likely to actually flip and work with Dan because I think he's more likely to be able to pull somebody with him because people aren't as threatened by Dan as they are by Terry. Terry, Nick, and Austin are just way too threatening, and it hurts everybody.
But I think Bruce and Terry have a relationship. It's constantly brought up on Bruce's end. Bruce says we have a mutual respect for each other. We really like each other. Bruce flipping isn't the concern. I think whether it was Terry or Dan who would have had the same level of flipping, it's getting that other person.
I think somebody else is more likely to flip if it's not Terry, because they see how good Terry is at the challenges. They know Terry was leading Mina. And now that first episode, let's say you can't get anybody to flip. Okay, nobody's going to vote Terry off, whatever. Like, so he has to play the idol. Shane goes home. The next episode, I think people are more likely to flip. I think Bruce is more likely to flip over to Terry's side if he has somebody like Dan and can say, hey, we're going to the final 3. Sally, Nick, and Austin. Those are our 4, 5, 6. Or whoever was left out of those.
So I get that, like, the Terry being more threatening or intimidating. But the thing is, Dan doesn't have other than Bruce, Dan has as little of a relationship with the Kasaya 6 as Terry does. He wasn't on a tribe with any of them. I
think people are just more likely to actually like him.
Why would you flip? Why would you flip and give yourself in a worse position just because you like someone? That doesn't happen.
Dan was already promising Ruth Marie things that people weren't promising, and Terry felt bad about that because he's like, oh, well, you know, it's going back on your word and stuff. I didn't promise or anything. The thing is, I think Dan was in his mind. I think he realized, like, you have to lie a little bit in this game, or at least make promises that might end up biting you later in this game. Whereas, like, Terry literally won't make any promises. And I love Terry. And I think the way Terry plays the rest of this game is phenomenal. He finally is in his element where he knows he's on the wrong side of the numbers, and he is infuriating these people. And
I don't know if that's phenomenal play. That's not phenomenal play.
He would have won, though, had he gotten to the end, which is insane.
Yeah, but that's because of, like, the immunities, not because he played a phenomenal game.
No. I think that from here on, I'm saying from this point on, the way he plays the game, all he's doing is irritating them, and it works so well because he's irritating so much that they hate each other so much that he would have ended up winning. Anyway, I forget what my initial point was, but I just think nobody was ever going to work with Terry because he doesn't even understand how to make a promise that is better than what he intends it to be. He's sitting here promising people 5 and 6. It's like they're already 5. You're trying to pull over the 5 and 6 to now be your 5 and 6. Like, how awful is that? It's terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty cringeworthy. And they cut it really well too. But I think they're sitting there talking to Shane, and it's kind of no one talking. He's like, well, you in?
Yeah.
And like accusing him. He's like, no.
and I think Shane, this goes back to if Shane didn't smoke cigarettes.
Yeah,
Shane's so good.
Shane's playing a very good game, and it's overshadowed by his insanity. But he read that Bob Dog situation perfectly. Shane knows what he's doing. He's just crazy, and that's what's overshadowing things. I wrote down another awkward thing that Terry did. Oh, it was when Sally said, "I don't want to go home." It was before the immunity challenge, and Terry said, "Well, it's up to you to get Courtney and Danielle." Like, that's your own alliance member, and you're saying deal with it. Like, it's tough to watch.
I think at that point, Terry knew he had no chance of flipping Danielle or Courtney. Like,
but to just be like, all right, Sally, like, deal with it. Like, it's like, okay, that's not
and this is where the mistake comes in with the whole Nick thing, because if he plays the idol for Nick, it's 5-4. I think at that point you can pull Bruce, and really them voting for Shane is dumb. Shane was never going to vote with them, but if you vote off Aris at that moment, see, Aris. This is why Aris plays so good, and I think he plays so much better post-merge than pre-merge. He builds this alliance pre-merge, which is great, but he gets away with a lot in the pre-merge that in the post-merge he starts being quieter. He starts keeping his mouth shut a little bit more. Even though he gets in like that argument with Courtney and stuff, he's 100% right. And Aris is always the target here. The fact that they would vote for Shane, if you vote off Aris at Final 10, that alliance crumbles because they don't have a glue to hold them together. And I think that's a huge missed opportunity for the Mina 4. And I think had they actually gotten rid of Aris at 10 and Terry played his idol, I seriously believe that the 4 of them can actually pull like a Foa or a JT, Taj, and Steven. I really think that they can pull something because you just got rid of the head of the snake. Getting rid of somebody like Shane, Aris could just be like, guys, we'll regroup. It'll be fine. We only lost Shane. It's okay. We're going to pick them off anyway.
Right. And, oh, man, I was about to lose what I was going to say. Oh, and the reason they voted for Shane, they did the classic, like, oh, let's take a shot at him. Like, they voted for him just to, like, make a point, which is an okay vote when it's 1 against 6. Like when you're the last person and you're just like throwing that vote out, not going anywhere. Like you vote out not the person that everyone's annoyed with. You vote out the glue. You vote out the head or the number 2. So them making a point at that early is not. That was a bad move.
What did JT and Steven and Taj do? They voted out Brendan, and then they voted out Tyson. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. You just voted out the head of one sect of the alliance and the head of the other sect. And guess what? The rest of them don't know how to play together anymore. You know, so you don't have anybody to control Coach because Tyson can control Coach. Once Tyson's gone, Coach is now just a free agent. That is Shane. That's exactly how Shane would have been. Yeah,
especially because right before the merge, he was begging for his alliance to break up with him, essentially. Another thing that I want to bring up, kind of going back to the Dan versus Terry thing, getting one person to flip versus getting 2 people to flip is a completely different animal. So when those numbers are 5-4, obviously you can get Bruce to move over. But getting Bruce and someone to move over is tough, especially because Bruce isn't that close to this tribe. Like Bruce and Danielle, Bruce and Courtney, like how much do they really interact? So grabbing Bruce is easy. It's getting Bruce to sell someone. That's the part that I think.
But at Final 10, you don't need Bruce to sell anybody. It's at Final 9. At Final 10, you would need Bruce to sell somebody. But if you play the idol, then at Final 9, you don't need Bruce to sell anybody. You just need Bruce.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that first vote. That first vote. The first merge vote defines.
The first merge vote was never going to happen. And this is another thing. Terry, I think Terry loves Austin. He loves Nick. He loves Sally. I also think he knows that when it got down to Final 4, he was getting booted if he played his idol for one of them, and they ended up being the Final 4. And I think that's where Terry's thinking, I can't help them, because if I play my idol now, I can win every immunity challenge. If I lose at Final 4, I can play my idol. You know, if I have one slip up, at least I can play my idol. I think he knows that he's such a threat that even his own alliance would probably get rid of him at some point.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, I know we're still in season 2 of Idols, but Terry is smart enough to know that he needs to keep that thing. He can use it as a tool. He can use it to pull people over. But to give that to Sally when there's 2 of you left and you're just going to be in the exact same situation next week, he's smarter than that. So him holding on to his idol, like, I say what you will, that was smart. No one should have given that away.
No, the only time to give it up was penalty. That's the only time. If he was going to do it then, but this, once again, I think he makes a mistake when he votes out. First of all, I think that Mina made a lot of mistakes earlier in the season. They vote out Misty, which ostracizes Sally. Then they turn around and they vote out Ruth Marie, which gives the young people the numbers. Now when Dan goes home, this is why Terry's in such bad shape, is because he doesn't feel as close with the young guys. He likes the young guys, and I think they all like each other, but he's not as tight with them as he was with Dan. And had this been like Dan, Ruth Marie, and Austin, I think Terry gives up his idol here because he's closer and knows that if he gets down to Final 4, I have the old people numbers over the young, whereas he knows that the young guys kind of looked out for Sally a little bit, and that's why Ruth Marie goes home in the first place.
I see. I don't really see it that way because I feel like those 4 guys were super tight, and obviously it was Nick and Austin, Dan and Terry. But if you replace Nick with Dan or Austin with Dan, or Sally with Ruth Marie, I still think Terry keeps his idol. I think those relationships are tight no matter what.
I think that there's a better chance and there might be more thought going into it because I think at this point, think about this. If you're Terry and you're sitting there, you're like, I can save Nick at Final 10. Okay. He saves Nick, who is also his biggest competition to win a challenge. So now he's saved.
Because Austin's putting on an Oscar-worthy performance.
Austin, I love that moment of Tribal. We'll talk about that. We will definitely talk about that. But so he saves Nick. Now he gets down to Final 4, and let's say Terry loses and he doesn't have the idol. Those guys might have been tight, but they're not dumb enough to keep around the strongest guy left in the game when they have Sally, who they know they can beat in the in the immunity challenge. By the way, Sally's great at challenges, but they know that they can beat her in that final 3 challenge. At least one of them will probably beat her. So you're going to get rid of Terry at 4 anyway. And what I'm saying is, let's say that's Dan instead of Nick. Terry's feeling a little more comfortable maybe giving up the idol because at Final 4, he believes in Dan more to not vote for him.
So I'm with that, but based on what we've seen, Terry isn't thinking Final 4. Terry's thinking Final 6.
Yeah.
So that's, again...
well, he's thinking of the Final 4 for himself. He's thinking of Final 6 just so he can swing the numbers, which is just one of the most idiotic. Yeah, I mean, really, this is For such a good player, and I really do believe Terry's a good player, and I wish that Second Chances hadn't turned out the way it did. By the way, you see his son on this season.
I know that is. I didn't even that. Like I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see his son on this season. You also see Cerie's son on this season. Two people who actually have big roles in Survivor further down the line. But you know, I just think like with Terry, I think he's a good player. I think he was trying to feel it out, and I don't think he knows how to play from the bottom because I think Terry's always been so good at things that he's never had to play from the bottom. Right. So in his first experience with it, he didn't know what to do, and I think in Second Chances he actually started to learn it a little bit. But, you know, of course, you get pulled for outside reasons. Yeah, exactly. It's like you said, he's good at everything, and he knows that he's good at everything. And it's like getting that cold dose of reality, like, oh, crap, I need to start doing this part of my game, when he never really had to rely on that earlier. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about this final 10. They all merge. You know, Lamina's doing everything they can. They get to the immunity challenge. Of course, the last three up there are Terry, Austin, and Nick. Of course. I mean, I love Shane going, hey, give me a cheeseburger, I'll get down. Jeff goes, there's no food coming, and Shane just jumps down. Like, it's the worst bluff of all time. It's so good. It's so good. So then it's Austin, like, acting like he's struggling and stuff. Austin thinks he's going to go before Nick, which I'm really surprised at because Nick, to me, looks more physically fit than Austin. I know Austin's probably faster, but Nick just looks like more he can hang on to stuff for longer, which he proves in that first challenge. But Austin doing this, why would you do this even if you know you're going out? Like, this is such a pride thing. This is such an ego thing. See, I'm okay with Austin doing it. My issue is then Austin at Tribal Council saying that he did it. It's so dumb. I was like, when he was doing it, obviously I knew he was faking it. And then his confessional, he's like, yeah, I was putting on a performance because he wants to make it one more day. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? But for him to just be sitting at Tribal Council and being like, yeah, I was playing it. I'm actually exceptionally athletic. Like, what is the gain on that? Like, that is such a bad move. And obviously, they had already decided on voting for Nick. But I was like, man, Austin, like, I was all in on you, but that was a blunder. Like, really, what Austin should have done at this point is like faked an injury or something to make himself look completely unathletic. Just been like when he fell off the thing, pretend you break your arm or something. Not break your, you know what I mean? Though. Maybe like, twist your ankle. Yeah, do what Tyson did. Where it's like, oh, I can't row. Oh, man, I really hurt my shoulder. I popped it out. He's walking around with the thing on. Make it look like you're hurt so that you're not as threatening. Because really, for him to just go out and be like, I'm actually stronger than I let on. It's like, well, these guys already decided they're going to vote for Nick. But, like, you're definitely next now. And then not only that, because you're not the strongest. Like, you're still going to lose to Terry. Exactly. And then he goes to exile, still finishes third in that challenge, the one after that, proving how strong he can really be if he's fed. And it's like, dude, you just killed yourself. I know. But I do love Austin. So he, in his 2 episodes, we got some earlier on. We got a John Grisham reference, a Let's Get It On Marvin Gaye reference, and a Sugar Ray Leonard reference. Yeah. He's not an old man, but he's an old guy at heart, and I loved him. I loved all of those references, and they were all like back to back to back. I think Austin's really good, and also Giovanni Rihanna just said Tyson didn't do that on purpose. Yes, he did. He totally tells everybody in he tells the camera in Blood versus Water, like, I didn't actually hurt it that bad. I'm milking it. Like, he tells that to the camera. Yeah, like anything that comes out of Tyson's mouth, you should not believe. Yeah. So that's your final 10. Nick goes home, gives probably some of the best final words ever. That his little last words is dope for somebody who's really not that interesting. Those are talked about a lot, and I actually wrote something else down too because everyone talks about how boring Nick is, but he actually said I forget what it was, but he said something like kind of funny. I think it was when he slapped Bruce with a machete. But even so, it was right when they merge, and Terry and Austin are freaking out. They're like, "Oh my god, we don't have the numbers," and Nick says, I'm excited to get to know some new people. This is what it's all about. Like, he has the most positive attitude about it. Like, yeah, maybe he's boring, but he's someone who went out there and just like really enjoyed his time. And we really don't get that very often. No, and that's like the thing. That's why I always liked the Lamina tribe, even though people don't. They were really just there to play. And like, these are the types of people that like, yeah, they might not be great for TV, and if Survivor only had these players, they probably wouldn't still be around. But these are the old school players that I like to watch, like that could actually come out there and could win the game and don't necessarily fit a stereotype. I mean, Austin and Nick are both just really athletic guys. Like, there's not much more to them. Sally's an athletic and hot girl. Misty was also an athletic and hot girl. Like, they all fit similar stereotypes. They don't have to be the crazy chain smoker or the stay-at-home mom who's never been camping or whatever. Like, they were just they didn't fit these stereotypes that we see all the time now.
Sorry, that ambulance was really having a field day with that.
It's very, very loud.
The good thing is my new apartment is like 10 stories higher than my current one, so we won't hear any ambulances.
That's exciting. That's positive.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah, you make a good point. Here, the more that I'm watching this, Mina is not that boring. Like, I'm finding myself defending Mina all the time. They're not that boring. They're decent people. They care about each other. They care about the game. They're just not like fire dancing all over the place.
Think about it. This is the way I look at it. In recent seasons, if you think about it from like 21 on, they've been casting it to try to make it more like the Kasaya tribe than like the Lamina tribe. And in my personal opinion, I'd prefer the early seasons where more of the characters were like the Lamina 4 than like the Kasaya 6. They always go for these crazy over-the-top stereotypes since 21. We don't get to know enough people in Samoa, so I won't really go there. But these caricatures are now dominating our screen. I mean, look at Kyle Jason when he comes on, and I don't think that he really fit that stereotype so much. I think Scott was really more of the brute guy. But, like, look at Kyle. He comes out. He's got all the tattoos. He's got the gauges in his ears. He's loud. He's whatever. And it's like, oh, I wonder who he's supposed to be. Oh, he's on the Braun tribe? Oh, I wonder if he's supposed to be the villain. Like, it's so built in now where, like, Lamina – nothing was built in for them. I guess Dan as the hero was built in, but they also gave him a nice send-off because they knew he was going early. Kasaya, nothing was built in for them either. And I like it better when they're like real people struggling with this mentality as opposed to just, hey, did you see that they threw like an army guy out there just because he's an army guy and he literally has no personality? Like, come on.
Yeah, I think that's not necessarily a Panama thing. I think that's an old season versus new season thing. But that's the thing. What I love about the Kasaya 6 and what I think a lot of people love about them is they're not trying to be crazy. They actually are that crazy. And they just melded together in this insane twist of fate. Like, Tony, do you think they casted Tony to be like who he was? No. But what we love so much about Tony is that he was like this mentally unstable self, and that's how he was playing. Like, he couldn't change anything about that. That's what's so great about him. It's people like I'm not a huge Scott fan. Like, people like Scott, I feel like just being the bad guy just to be the bad guy. Yeah, it's not as compelling.
Oh, and this is the Russell Hantz factor. I mean, they casted Russell because they knew he was going to be crazy. They bring him out, and that's what they wanted. And like now they look for those villains all the time. Shane is a great villain because Shane's not just a villain. Like, Shane is actually a good player at this game who has a good head on his shoulders. And I know he's gone through some stuff in life, but like when he sees his son, like that's not a villain. Like, you can say what you want about Shane, but like when he's breaking down like that, that is so authentic. And nowadays these villains are almost like sociopaths. Like, we don't need that. Give me the Shane villain 100 times out of 100 times over the other types of villains that we've seen in recent seasons.
Yeah, and we had texted about this earlier. I want to make it clear, I cry at every single family visit. I don't discriminate. I cry at every single one. But Shane's always hits me as one of the hardest family visits because he is this crazy guy, and you think he is this chain smoker. He's nuts. He's in control of his game, but he's not. But his world, like this means nothing to him. His world is his son. And I know this game isn't about family relationships. And I understand that, like, yeah, that's one episode. And some people don't love the family visit. But that brings it down to earth that these are people. Like, Shane is a complex human being. He's not a good person or a bad person. He just loves his son to pieces. And and we haven't even seen Boston really yet. We've just seen the video. Also, not sort of off topic. Do we ever see them win that reward?
No, we don't see anything. I was just going to say that. I
was eating dinner and I was watching it. And I was like, did I miss something? And
they just cut to afterwards.
They were like, yes, those milk and those cookies were so good. But it was like, we didn't see anything.
And I think the reason is because the family visit actually comes up later in the season. They didn't need to double dip. This was just kind of like nice for these people. They probably thought this was the only shot. But because the family visit comes up later, you don't need to see them watch their videos. I mean, it's not going to be all that interesting. Really, once Shane lost, you don't need to see it. But Yeah, I mean, Kyle, too. Jason, Kyle, whatever the hell you want to call him. I went back and forth all of Co-Wrong, so I don't really care what you call him. But he's also a complex character where he comes out, he's this big brooding guy, but he's got the daughter with autism, and he just that's his life. You know, he's talking about that's why I'm out here, that's why I'm doing this, that's why I'm doing that. But they never sold him that way. Like right away, you know, Shane, I think it's in the second episode, he's like, why would I leave my son behind? Why would I do this? Why would I do that? Why would I do this? But it didn't feel like they were trying to force it down your throat with it. It just felt like this was Shane being natural. It wasn't even like a confessional. I think it was just him walking down the beach where he's saying this and he's like, what am I doing? And now, like, you watch the season, it's like Suri, she's letting her whole family down if she doesn't win. And it's like, my God, how many times are you going to tell us that? Like, I get it. She's a hero. Like, I already see that. Like, I already know that. I want the complexity with these characters, like the Jason, like the Shane. You know, but still, to me, Shane is much more natural than the Jason one because the Jason one, they wanted him to be the villain, came out and played the villain. They bring his daughter up almost as like an afterthought throughout his storyline. Yeah,
because the daughter thing kind of comes up closer to the end. Like, I remember specifically when I think he's on the reward with Michelle. It was the one where they're playing with elephants, and he's like, my daughter loves animals. Like, she would love this. Like, you don't really get her reference very often until the very end. I love Jason. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jason.
Yeah, I think he's awesome.
I think Jason's a real dude who just was in a crazy season.
Yeah, exactly. A great season.
Yeah, love that season. Anyway, so we've talked pretty much. I mean, all three Laminas go. I think Sally. The more I watch this, the more I actually like Sally. I like Sally more every time I watch the show, just like I like Bruce more every time I watch these. The first time you watch it, like, you can't really get a grasp of them because there's so much craziness going on, or you have Terry that's kind of overshadowing. Second time you watch it, you're like, damn, how the hell did Terry blow this? And then this third time that I'm watching it now, I'm kind of like, man, Bruce really was a presence on his tribe. Aris and Shane playing like a fiddle, but man, he's a presence over there. And then you have Sally, who, like, she's your underdog. Terry's the underdog in the grand scheme of things, but Sally's almost like your Erin or your Sierra, where she's just completely undervalued by her tribe. Really does nothing wrong. She brings more entertainment, in my opinion, than Erin or Sierra. But, you know, it's always surprising how Sally kind of gets shit on in the Survivor world. I mean, because Dalton Ross likes her so much, I actually think that makes people dislike her more, because, like, how could somebody like her that much? Or she's just completely forgotten about. Kind of surprises me because, really, to me, Sally, one of the stronger female competitors we've really had on this show. I really think that. I think had the numbers worked out differently for her, I think Sally's a good player.
Yeah, I think undervalued is probably the best word that you could have used for her. And I know a lot of people, I wouldn't say they don't dislike her. I think they just don't like you said, they just don't know her because she's from a season that isn't loved or hated. It's a season that just kind of is. She's on the quote-unquote most boring tribe of all time, which Phil and I have made exceptionally clear that we do not believe. And on top of that, she was a girl on a tribe with dudes that were really, really tight. And they were all about strength and all about this and all about, like, their guy power. And so she was just naturally undervalued by that. Not because she wasn't good at anything. She really held her own. She's really great in challenges. And obviously when you're watching challenges, you're paying attention to Terry, but she really holds her own. Like, she's better than any of the other girls.
She almost beat Terry at that last challenge. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
What I love about that challenge is the last three remaining are the three Laminas, who one of them was just on exile. And at the immunity challenge before that, all of the Kasayas ate except for Aris. Oh, wait, no, I went in the wrong order. I went in the wrong order. So anyway, I love that the last three are Austin, Sally, and Terry, and Austin, like, hasn't eaten. And then I love at the next challenge, Aris, who doesn't go, or who goes to Exile Island, comes in and is the only one who participates from Kasaya. And this is where you start to see Aris lose it a bit. But this is where I think Aris is so much better of a player now than he was at the beginning, is he doesn't mouth off to them. You can tell he's annoyed, and he says his little thing to Jeff, like, I guess I got to beat him. But, like, somebody says to him, it's all on you, Aris, and he's just disgusted. But, like, he doesn't say anything because he knows in the grand scheme of things, he is the only one who can do it. And at the end of the game, this is why he smokes Danielle. He smokes her because she's the one who sits out and eats. And Aris is the one who's actually trying to win it for them. Like,
yeah,
it's really, I think he plays so much better post-merge than pre-merge, because he finally starts to think long-term, I think, because he knows that this group is going to have to implode. And while they're all sitting there saying, we can get rid of Aris, like, fine. You know what? If they play an idol tonight, if Sally does play an idol, well, Aris goes. Whatever. He's got to go sometime. I think he's playing so much better because he knows he's got to stay quiet so that they all don't actually just outright vote for him. And the craziness just goes around and round.
Yeah, he plays a really good game in post-merge, which reminds me. So at the same time that I'm rewatching this, I'm also rewatching Blood versus Water, which is a great season. I know you recently rewatched it. Like, I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Brad Culpepper, like while reading that and watching it at the same time as Larry's. But anyways, Aris is on that season. And Aris, when Laura, Rupert's wife, first joins their tribe, she's like, oh, I'm feeling a little awkward. I feel like I don't belong. And we have Aris. This is second time, older Aris. She's like trying to make a fire or trying to cut a coconut. And she's not really doing it well. And he's standing there just staring at her. And he goes, man, I wish your husband was here.
Yeah.
And so I actually wrote that down to talk about that. So I think what I've decided is I don't think it's arrogance. I think it's a lack of tact.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He doesn't think he's better than them. He just doesn't realize that you shouldn't say that.
Yes, no, and I completely agree with you. And I kept calling it arrogance because I didn't have the word for it. But I think that's 100% spot on. He has no idea like when to keep his mouth shut, but I think in his post-merge here, he finally does it. And when he starts arguing with Courtney, the reason he's arguing with Courtney is because his life is on the line and he knows it. He has to argue with Courtney because he knows that if they don't vote for Sally that night and Austin plays the idol, then he goes home. Like, he knows it. So, of course, it means a lot more to him because they're obviously thinking that Austin's going to get the votes. This is Aris thinking so far ahead while the knuckleheads he's with aren't. And Cerie stands in the corner and says, man, Aris is acting crazy because all Cerie wants is Aris to get voted out. So the biggest threat in the game goes home and she's the leader of the crazies.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm completely with you on that. I think that's part of the reason why we disagreed. I think it was something as simple as semantics.
Yeah, no, so, I think that's true because clearly whatever Aris was doing in that pre-merge was not correct. Calling people out like that. It's not the correct thing to do because it wasn't like a dire situation like it was when they had to boot Austin. That's a dire situation for Aris. The other moments like, oh, you're going to talk about work ethic? Like, who cares? Talk about it to everybody else and let Bruce do his thing. Let Shane blow up on Bruce. That's not your spot. You know, you don't call out Bruce.
Well, why can Shane blow up on Bruce, but Aris can't? We already. No.
I'm saying let Shane do it. If you're Aris, you let Shane do it because you get all of your frustration out. You go and you complain to Shane. Shane will go because he can't keep his mouth shut. He'll blow up. You look good. It's Shane who looks bad. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, I get where you're coming from on that.
Yeah. So I think that what I like about this is I like that the final 7 is Terry versus the Kasaya 6. It's a movie with a bad story. This is Game of Thrones when Dany, Jon, and Tyrion all die. None of them make it. You know, that's what this season is to me because you've lost. The Lamina 4 are built up as such underdogs over these crazy people like Kasaya. No matter how much more entertaining Kasaya is than Lamina, there's really nobody in there to root for. Cerie's the biggest person to root for, but Cerie starts to fall to the background a little bit while you're still trying to figure out, is Lamina going to pull this off? She starts drifting a little bit more towards the background. Aris in this final 8 episode, that's when he really starts to move up. I think, in my opinion, at least, I think he starts to move up there to actually become sort of a rooting interest because he doesn't take the food. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. But I think like Terry winning this season for Lamina would be so big to overthrow that crazy Kasaya alliance. I think that makes this season more of an interesting season, not more of an interesting season necessarily, but I think that makes it more well-received than it's become down the line because it's like if Chris loses in Vanuatu. If he finishes 3rd and it's Scout and Twyla in the final 2, you're not as excited about that season as you are now rewatching it when you're like, wow, how the hell is this guy going to pull this out? The guy who should have gone first.
Yeah, that's a good point. Comparing it against Chris, like, I guess I don't compare them immediately because like Terry like challenges his way to it and Chris like dupes his way to the top.
Oh, Chris is great. Yeah, Chris is a better player than
Terry. So I love Chris. Like I could never find myself rooting for Terry, so I'm looking forward to like watching these next few episodes and finding that. And I think part of the reason I I couldn't fully get on his bandwagon is because like he couldn't really articulate what he was trying to do very well. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. Yeah. And also I loved Aris for whatever reason. I liked Courtney, and I think I liked Shane. I think Shane, yeah. I think young Alexa was like, actually Shane is pretty great. And I think like the whole thing with his son brings it back. Like he's not just some crazy chain smoker. Like he's actually really, really good at this game. And one thing I wrote down, forgot to mention, Shane like Boston Robs at one point. Like the Mina group is boating over. Shane's like powwow team meeting, and they do the hand holding. They do the we're tight till the end. We're tight till the end. That was all Shane. And Shane was ready to dump them earlier. So Shane does the don't talk to them, don't look at them. And people can hate on Boston Rob all they want, but it worked for him.
Yeah.
And it didn't work for Shane for many reasons. But I mean, he was on the right track with that.
No, he was. And really the only reason it doesn't work for Shane is because Terry keeps winning immunity. It's the only reason it doesn't work for Shane.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because he starts getting a little wishy-washy towards the end. But that's the thing. Like, and then one of my favorite moments, and this is why I always was able to root for Terry, because to me, there's nothing better than when people in power are getting arrogant, but you find a way to just poke them. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm literally the thorn in your foot right now. And how annoyed are you at this? Imagine if you could just remove that thorn, how easy life would be. And that's why I love Terry, because at the final 8 tribal council, Danielle has the audacity to say that Terry is way cockier than them and that he is way more in their face with it. After Shane's calling everybody over saying, come on guys, we got to vote. Or who are we going to vote for? To call that powwow. And everybody's like, you couldn't have done that in a more tactful way. Like you couldn't have done that in a better way than this. And Danielle, who sits out to eat food because she knows she's not going home. The people who sit around the fire and tell Terry if he doesn't win the challenge, he's going home. They're getting mad at him saying he's cocky because when he wins, he rubs it in their damn face. That's the beauty of Terry. He's a hothead. He's a competitive guy. Or he's not a hothead. He's a competitive guy who will get very, very intense with you if he has to, and he knows how to get under their skin, and that's what I love about Terry.
I mean, to be fair, he is cocky. Like, part of the reason, now that we're talking about it, part of the reason I didn't like him is because he did that barrel roll, like, to beat Sally. Like, that stuff I don't like, but to me, it's like, I dislike both of them because, like, I dislike Terry because they did that, and I dislike Kasaya because they did that. Like, to me, it was... No, like you're both at the wrong here.
The thing is, when you're rooting for the underdog,
but that's the thing. I found myself rooting for Troyzan because Troyzan like just wanted to play. Terry was being I don't like the thorn. I think that's the thing. You like the thorn. I don't like that.
That's how I would play.
So that's why I could never get into Terry because I was like, you are being such a jerk. Like I wouldn't want to work with you either. So that's why I never found myself rooting for him.
Other than the fact that he can't articulate what he's trying to say. Other than that, he's really not that much of a jerk. He's just so
But no, he's not a jerk, but he's like, it's the cockiness. That's what I didn't love about it.
I honestly don't think he's as cocky as he starts playing in real life because I think that he's doing this to get back at them, to get under their skin. This is a strategy. And because he knows he's never going to work with them, he says, okay, when we get down to final 6, what are we doing? They go, that's not part of the plan. He goes, all right, well, I guess I have to win all the challenges. There's nothing really cocky about that. That's just him saying, well, fine, guys, if you don't want me to be any part of your strategy, screw you.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I'm completely with that. I don't like people like whining when they don't get their way. And he does that a lot in this season.
When do you really see him do that though?
Hold on. Sorry, my internet cut out a bit. No, he does it later on. He doesn't do that right now.
I honestly think that later on when he does it with the whole Wambulance thing and he calls him and Aris have such a competitive relationship by that point that I think this is like the, hey bro, you're not going to beat me. Hey bro, you're not going to beat me. Let's just keep on rubbing it in. Like, so I don't really think like up till this point, Terry's done nothing cocky. It's just like when the girls are sitting there in the shelter, it's like, how are we going to beat a naval pilot? How are we going to He went to the Naval Academy. He does blah, 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 flew all these planes, did this, that, everything else. It's like, how are we going to beat this guy? Of course you're not going to like that guy. But if you're going to outright tell that guy who's the most competitive guy in the world that you're going to vote him out when he loses, he's going to straight up tell you to your face he's never going to lose. So
that's fine. That's not what my issue is. I love that he did that. That's not what my problem is.
Well, that's him being the thorn. That's what I'm saying.
Right. But yeah, no, that's fine. To me, the thorn is, it's not necessarily the thorn. To me, it's like he's so pissy that he's not getting what he wants. Not right now. We're not there yet.
Well, I'm talking about right now. I'm saying at this point, and then I want to see as we move on, because I don't think it's as clear in your memory. I don't think he gets as pissy as you think. But
no, he does. But I think it's a combination of both. Like, I think he's really frustrated, and I don't like how he takes it out on them. Like, I don't.
Right
love
now,
that.
I'm loving it.
I know he has to do that, but I don't like watching that.
See, I do, because
the
thing is,
that's the thing. It's not that I like Terry. It has nothing to do with like how I view him as a character or as like a person. That's just not the game that I like to watch.
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm talking about Danielle at that tribal council saying that to Terry.
No, that was
up
ridiculous.
to this point, he has not been that cocky. He's just told them, "I'm going to win every challenge." And guess what? He pretty much wins every challenge he has to. He does win every challenge he has to, except for Final 3. Like,
I agreed. I agreed with what you said about Danielle.
Yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous. And for her to say that and be like so mad about it, and you got Austin sitting over there like laughing in her face. This is why Danielle gets smoked. Like, Danielle's not crazy, but Danielle's like just not really in touch with the reality of what was going on the season.
That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Terry's celebration, even after winning the immunity challenge, beating Aris and Sally, I honestly think that's him overblowing it to kind of be like, screw you, Aris, I beat you anyway.
Right,
I really
which is
do.
fine. Like, you like that, but that's the thing, you like that and I don't. That's just...
Well, it's because you don't know real entertainment. I
don't like reality TV, and that's like that's that kind of stuff that I don't like.
But you see, this is the difference, though, between old Survivor and new Survivor, and this is the point we were making earlier with this Mina group. Terry's being a real dude doing this. This isn't Terry trying to play it up for the cameras. This is how Terry would be going to our backyard Thanksgiving bash with Troyzan and Terry. If Terry beats Troyzan in cornhole and Troyzan was talking shit before that, Terry's going to be celebrating just like that to rub it in a little bit. And that's what he's doing to Aris here. This is a real person acting the way he would in real life, just to be like, hey, I got you again. And you know what? Aris gets him in the end. And I think Terry votes for him anyway. Like, it doesn't, they get it.
Well, I don't think Terry was going to vote for Danielle.
No, absolutely not.
We'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Final Four thing.
Yeah, we're moving too fast.
You want to do some comments? Because we've almost been at an hour. I need to cook food.
I got to go to sleep. Let's do this. I mean, comments. Twitter or YouTube?
Let's do IceX over on Twitter. Probes preseason roundtable consensus. Breast tribe, older women, winner Tina, Final Four. Only one of them had Suri. Those are your experts. Well, that's why we had to come in as the Survivor specialist to correct people.
You're welcome, Jeff. But I mean, when you look at that older woman tribe, like, you think Tina's going to run the show.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're the best tribe, though. Like, maybe they're the most entertaining tribe, but you knew they weren't going to win a challenge when you threw it out there.
I think it's like, if you're going to name a tribe older women, like, you better say some good stuff about them.
That's very true. That's very true.
IceX again, when Kasai was eating the raw fish, did they even think of throwing on some of the spices? I mean, I know that was the previous 3 episodes, but yeah, why didn't they do that?
I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
We have IceX. You've probably said this already, but if anyone ever deserved the second chance, it was Bruce. Bruce grows on me here, and he would have been a good guy to bring back during Philippines, aside from Penner. I know, because Penner had played twice already. So, yeah, Penner's obviously a better character than Bruce. But Bruce might not have been a bad guy to bring back along with Russell Swan and Scoopin, because here's your 3 guys who got medevacs. They only played once. Let's see what they could do a second time. But and Bruce, like, is so similar to Russell and Scoopin. It's actually terrifying. So it's a good thing they had Penner, who's a little bit more strategic and not quite as delusional. I don't think Bruce is delusional, really, but Bruce is definitely somebody who fits more in that group than the Penner group.
Yeah, for sure. I think I know why he brings up the Bruce thing, because he later tweets that he went too far in the episodes. But
gotcha.
Yeah. So Isaac, for a third time, they were still doing mid-season recap episodes for Pana. I loved these for the new seasons featuring camp life. I miss them. Isaac, you might be the only person who misses those, and I really admire that you put that on the internet.
Yeah, I didn't watch that. I didn't watch it. I could go back and watch it maybe, but just to see what they used to do. I don't remember them.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I love this season, so maybe like I would actually gain something from watching it. But I remember I clicked on episode 7 and it was like, let's talk about camp life. And I like rage quit. I was like, I just need the episode. Like, I don't want this.
Screw you, CBS. All access.
Ruining my Wednesday before Thanksgiving every year.
Right. It was always Thursday. No, that's because Survivor used to be on Thursdays, Alexa.
Oh, yeah, so it's Thanksgiving night.
Yeah, that's why they did it. That's why Hooga Boom went home on Thanksgiving, remember?
I would have watched it.
Tyler Bellmeyer, which season title is worse, Heroes, Healers, and Hustlers, or Ghost Island? My stumbles explains everything.
The fact that Phil couldn't even say it. That is a no. Ghost Island isn't a bad name. It's like Exile Island.
Yeah. Or Redemption Island.
Heroes, Healers, goodness, Hustlers, Triple H is probably the worst.
Probably the worst title ever.
I would go so far as to say that I think it is the worst.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, Millennials versus Gen X, at least there's 2 of them.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And they sound different. Like, I can't even say it. Survivor Specialist, I think and hope you guys mean episodes 8 through 10 because episode's title screams recap episode and shows a picture of a disc.
So she has the DVD for Panama.
Yeah, very good. Well, yeah, she also knew that Bob Dog was on the DVD cover.
That's true. She probably had it in front of her. So there you go.
Yes, I tweeted incorrectly. Thank you for the correction.
No, that's okay. I called it episode 7 through 9. I don't care.
Yeah, so whatever. We're sticking with it.
Gamer Girl, was Bruce getting hit with the machete foreshadowing his eventual medevac? I think so. I mean, they talk about so much there. With him not going home and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, Bruce says I'm not going home, which is just so depressing.
Yep.
Gamer Girl again. How come almost all of Kasaya seems calm now except Suri, Aris, and Shane? Does Aris have them under a spell? I mean, Suri and Shane seem fine.
Suri's very calm. Suri just calls out Terry for his BS. That's it.
Yeah, it seems kind of fine.
Yeah.
I think everything's calm right now because they're voting out. They can vote them out. It's our next podcast, which is when they're going to start freaking out because they can't vote for each other. I mean, they have to vote for each other. Excuse me. Yeah,
exactly. Gamer Girl, is it me or is the Panama post merge a little hard to watch? It's very hard to watch because this is Vanuatu. I'm telling you, this is so similar to Vanuatu because the men come in without the numbers going into the merge, and then the women pick off the men one by one. It gets down to the last man, and that man wins. And it's a great arc for that character. With Terry also losing after you watch Mina go down like this, it's a hard thing to watch. It really is. Thankfully, the player who actually played the game the most, I think, for this Kasaya 6 in terms of always thinking it could be me, purposely going to Exile Island just so he can at least look around for the idol real quick, so he can see for himself. He wants to get away from the crazies. I get that. Playing in the challenge, all of this stuff, at least the person who played the game is the one who wins out of that group. But it's hard when people liked Suri more and people like Terry more at the time. And it goes on to be Aris who wins after we watch Lamina get just decimated.
Yeah. And these 3 episodes, admittedly, are some pretty rough episodes to watch. But I had mentioned this earlier. What the reason why I can stomach or actively enjoy this post-merge is because it's not like South Pacific where you just get rid of everyone and then you start eating your own. They have to eat their own while there's a thorn in their foot. Yeah. And that's a slightly different dynamic from your usual pagonging, and that's why I really like it.
It's what Danny does the season before, and that's what's kind of crazy here. So if you really think about it, from Vanuatu, you have Chris's great redemption arc. Then Tom dominates. Then you have Danny in Guatemala who makes a comeback after she's the last one left on her tribe, after her tribe gets decimated. Then you have Terry who almost pulls it off. Then you have the Foa 4 who do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's oh my God. This stretch of underdog seasons, it's so weird that it's just right now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. This is a stretch of underdog seasons.
Yeah.
All right. Giovanni Oriana, is Bruce like the teacher in the Karate Kid movies?
He's definitely in karate.
Yeah, I guess so.
His artistry was dope on the flag, too. It was a sick looking flag.
Yeah, that's a really nice looking flag.
And then Gamer Girl says the immunity idol Terry's precious. I mean, wow, that's really loud. I mean, that's just unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. Well, we'll hang out for a second.
That's hold on.
It's 11:30 at night. How do you not jump off that second floor?
Crazily, it's the 5th. Actually, I am the 2nd floor. Good job. Honestly, what's so crazy about 1 second. There's a follow-up. What's crazy about living in New York is like I'm very aware of this right now, but like I'm only aware of it because I know that like you hear it and our listeners hear it. But like if I could like fall asleep to that, which is means I've been living here for way too long.
Fun story in college, real quick aside to go back to Alexa's thing here. Our fire alarm ran out of batteries, like the smoke detector ran out of batteries in my one room.
At the UV?
Yeah, in the UV. It ran out of batteries in my one roommate's room. We did not get it fixed for 2 months. And it would beep every 26 seconds. We remember it was every 26 seconds it would beep. My roommate slept in that room with the thing beeping in his ear. You seriously just tuned it out. Like you just didn't even know what was happening.
That's like Chinese water torture. Oh my God.
Oh, it was great. I don't know. I have no idea why we waited. So we were just too lazy and the UV was terrible with their people coming over to actually fix things. So we just left it. And seriously, like we'd sit there and like watch Survivor, watch Game of Thrones, watch whatever. And you just didn't even know. You'd sit in the living room and have no idea it was going off because you just got so used to it.
Wow. I would have slept outside. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Is Terry? Oh, also the immunity idol. Yeah, that thing is like hairy and weird.
It is.
I know. Also, the immunity necklace is awesome. Like it's huge. It takes up Terry's entire chest.
I liked when he goes to hug Sally goodbye. It's like hold it in. Like by the way.
Oh, sorry, my gold is in the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Giovanni Oriana, is Shane a great mascot for an alliance like Coach was in South Pacific, Philip and Caramone and Debbie in Game Changers?
No.
Debbie in Game Changers? What?
She is like a mascot, but
yeah, but for like a episode.
Yeah. He is not like them at all because he's actually got like his mind in it. He's just no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that, Giovanni, unfortunately.
Larry Miller says, would Shireen have been able to handle Shane's Monkey Man and Troyzan's antics? God.
No.
Could you imagine if Troyzan, Shane, and Terry all made it onto that season and got put on a tribe with Shireen?
Oh my God. Don't even get me
started. She probably would have got 19th place again, but I think she would have had a much worse time.
Yeah, in those 6 days.
Yeah.
Isaac, Suri is quiet in these episodes, but she's still funny in her confessionals and nobody has a target on her. Yeah. I mean, she's crushing it. That's the thing. Just because we're not getting anything from her does not mean she's not crushing it.
Yeah. And then Giovanni says, is Terry the poor man's Tom Westman, just with little to no strategy? And this is the difference between Terry and Tom. Tom's on the most dominant alliance of all time, so he never has to play from the bottom. If Terry's alliance, if his tribe had not lost and they went in with the numbers, I think Terry and Tom are actually too similar. I think they play they both win 5 immunities. I think that Terry could have made it to the end, probably against Sally, which would have been seen as like the weaker girl from that group. Probably would have had somebody like Austin or Nick go in 3rd. I mean, I really think the similarities are actually insane if Terry goes in with the numbers, because I don't think people would have flipped on him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't call Terry the poor man's anything. So I don't want to call him the poor man's Tom Westman. I get that like he doesn't have the strategy that Tom did, but you bring up a good point that Tom walked in with like the biggest advantage.
Yeah. And Larry Miller ends it with, how come Shane is so loved? If Shane played today, he would get destroyed like Dan Foley because of how he treats Courtney. Shane would absolutely get destroyed.
I actually don't think he would as much.
Not as much as Dan. Dan was like unsalvageable. But if the first time we ever saw Shane play was 2016 or 2015 or whatever year it was that Dan played, if that was the first time we ever saw Shane played, he would not have been as well received. People would have been in like an outrage. Outrage. It would have been people would have been so negative on him because of how he treats Courtney.
But I think I don't really remember because I wasn't like on the internet when I was watching Panama. How was he received in the moment at Panama? I think in the moment he was not very well liked. I think he ages well.
I think people enjoyed watching him. Yeah, I think he's become like a Survivor icon because it was just the guy who was chain smoking. What crazy thing is he gonna do now?
But I remember watching it and my mom was like, that guy is a horrible person. Like it's not like he was like, oh, how funny is that? Like he was a jerk to her. Like that.
The thing is, like somebody like Jason now, he plays. I still think he's similar to Shane. Jason gets crapped on. He gets absolutely
I see a lot of people liking Jason.
No,
it's not Scott. I know everyone hates Scott.
Well, everybody. I mean, yeah, he's a little overshadowed by Scott, but Jason's still not like somebody that people are like, oh my God, I love Jason. He's never going to be like the huge. I mean, obviously Shane played at a different time, so he's going to be the icon because it was like more towards the top of Survivor's, run. But further down the line, in 10 seasons, I don't think people are gonna be like, man, really wish Kyle Jason would have came back. Like, how has he not come back?
I mean, people might. There aren't many good, like, everyone says, like, oh, past heroes versus villains. Like, what good villains are there? Like, like we said, he's a good, complex, like, person. I think people will be like,
you know who the good villains were post heroes versus villains? Russell, Rob, Penner. Oh, they'd already all played once, and they knew what villain they were getting. Those are your good villains because you just brought back every single frickin' player that had already played the game. That's my
well, I just named Jason right there. So that was the point that I was trying to make.
No, I know. I'm getting out my frustration of. I also think that there's a lot to be said for Shane has now not played for 22 seasons, going on 23 and 24 because we know he's not in the next 2 seasons. People want him back because they want to see him play. Now, anytime that somebody's like, wow, that was a fun player, they come back in 2 seasons. So there's no build up to them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
For Farner to completely go from, oh my God, it was so exciting to see him play 29 seasons later to, oh my God, what a bad person. Like,
oh my God, maybe we shouldn't have brought him back.
Yeah, like how quick is that? And that's the craziness of it. Like they bring people back so fast now that you don't have time to really
miss them.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's true. You don't get to miss him. Spencer blows himself up. Tasha doesn't really do anything in her season. Wu doesn't even make the merge. Like, look at these people. They played 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Switch to YouTube.
Yeah, let's do some YouTube. I know it's late, so we don't
have too many.
Yeah, I know we have. Sorry, I'm like refreshing. You want to do the first one at the bottom there? I don't know what it is.
Vladimir, this streak of episodes is so sad to watch as all those Minas are voted off one by one. Still comparing to Guatemala, this is more thrilling because of the hidden immunity idol. I almost prayed Terry would lose the challenge and would have to play the idol. Aris would have gone home and the game might have turned on its head as Aris was the one keeping Kasaya together. The thing with the hidden immunity idol is I actually thought there was more tension in Guatemala because like Terry found the idol and like that was it the whole time. Like the Guatemala one, it happened during the merge. You never really know if Gary finds it. I think there's a lot more build up with the hidden immunity idol in Guatemala rather than Panama.
The biggest problem with this one is it's because it can only be played after the vote, so there's no like there's no like intensity to it because it's just like oh, he's either going to play it after we vote him out or he's not. The cool thing about Terry finding it is that Terry never loses immunity, so they can never actually get him out until the last day that he can play it anyway.
Yeah.
Vladimir says, I never actually knew the rule for the Super Idol. Couldn't have Terry played it for someone else after the votes are read? I assume not, because he could have played it for Danielle at Final Four then, but it never said a word about how you can or cannot play the idol for somebody else. Understanding he would not want to waste it for someone else at Final 10, 9, or 8, but at Final Four he had no risks after the votes were read anyway. I'm not sure if he could hand it over afterwards. I think it had to be in the possession.
I feel like he could. I feel like the only reason they thought it was in possession is because maybe the idol was so new. Like it's still one of the first times we have an idol. But I feel like now you can. So why wouldn't you have been able to earlier? But yeah, it's pretty unclear, yeah.
It is pretty unclear. And because it never really plays a role in the season, we never really get an answer.
Yeah. Arch Mitch. Guys, you should check out Mario Lanza's funny 115 entries on Shane. Shane and the Blackberry, Shane, the Stick Insect, and Shane main character entry. I actually saw another one, which is one of the shortest funny 115s. It's like Shane hiding from Courtney's hand. And we'll talk about it at the final tribal council. But essentially, Courtney keeps putting her hand on Shane's shoulder to get up and off of the bench. And he slowly moves further away from her.
Oh my God.
And it's hilarious. But I want to see those ones too, because I'm sure they're incredible. Shane is gold mine.
The real Negro, totally agree with Aris being arrogant. He always came off as passive aggressive to me. The worst when he accuses Terry of hating women. Aris a fine winner, but I never respect him as a player. You and me finally came to an agreement on Aris.
Yeah, I think we kind of agreed with it. And we'll talk about the women thing, but like I want to make it extremely clear that Aris like told everyone that he made that up.
Yeah, it's the same thing that Candace did to Brad Culpepper.
Exactly. Which
those tricky players from seasons 12 and 13, huh?
I know, yeah. Coming back to haunt you. Jake Roush. No, I totally butchered your name. I'm so sorry. Nothing compares to Francesca being on the Redemption Island DVD cover. I recently rewatched Redemption Island because I'm insane. And she is the first one voted out, but she's still one of the more compelling players on that season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because there's like no compelling players on that season.
Yeah. darn shame that she got voted out that early.
It is.
Yeah.
Arcs13 says, I disagree with you guys on RS. He is not arrogant. I disagree with Phil and Sally. She's boring as a long drive without music. I do, however, agree with you guys on Austin.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's it.
Arcs13, if Kasaya had their own breakfast cereal, it would be called Banana Nuts because they're bananas and nuts. That sounds delicious.
I don't know. I'm surprised that hasn't been made yet. I'm actually shocked.
I mean, we have like honey bunches of oats.
Yeah, but there's no bananas.
I know, but there are nuts in those, so they should have like banana flavored honey bunches of oats.
Oh.
Chock full. It's like I always say chock full of nuts, like the coffee. That's nice. The chock full of nuts.
Gamer Girl says, I don't see Austin returning nowadays because of his current job. He's now a pastor at a church. I know that because I'm friends with him on Facebook. He's the Brandon of this season. He's forgotten, and everyone doesn't care for him except for me, Arcs13, Phil, and Alexa.
Aw.
Interesting that he's a pastor now.
That is really cool. I love Austin.
Yeah.
He's so great.
That's interesting.
Gamer Girl, I also love that Alexa's roommates keep appearing. Or are they her roommates? I laughed hilariously when Phil said that Alexa had a parade going on behind her. Yeah, if you guys couldn't tell, I moved from my bedroom to the main room because my Wi-Fi doesn't connect very well in my room. So yeah, I live in a tiny apartment, and when anyone ever walks, you're aware of it.
You gotta get that hunk to come out again, though. Why do you?
Yeah. Don't even get me started.
Alexa got this super hot British roommate now. I hope he's listening. He said he was going to try to find it. He's not going to try to find it. He's just really nice because he's British.
I really hope he doesn't try to find it because now he knows that I'm talking on the internet about how hot he is. Oh my God. Okay, let's move on.
I watched him walk by in the background. Anyway, if you guys see him, you'll know that's not a stranger. It's just a shirtless man with really big pectoral muscles.
Who I live with.
Arcs13, they wanted to use the outhouse for firewood, not as wood. Also, Phil, it's not a super idol as it can be played after the votes are cast. That's exactly what the super idol is.
That is what a super idol is. Just because in Co-Wrong they named that version super idol. The OG super idol is this one.
Exactly. This is the OG, and I knew that they wanted to store the firewood in there, but he wanted to take a poop too.
I feel like half the time people don't even listen to us. And by half the time, I mean 90% of the time. At least we listen to each other sometimes.
Yeah. So then, what is this? Ryan Chan?
I have Gamer Girl up next.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, it's just talking about your theory.
I know, which we talked about.
Okay, so never mind. We'll go do Ryan Chan.
Sorry, Gamer Girl, but we talked about it so much.
Yeah, that's literally what the past hour was about. Ryan Chan, the train wreck that is Kasaya, ironically, is one of the strongest alliances. Yeah, they're not a train wreck. They are a really strong alliance. Because of their dysfunctionality, it was hard for Mina to flip someone because there wasn't really a hierarchy, or it was very hard to tell in the Kasaya alliance. There really isn't a leader, and there really isn't anyone on the outs. Everyone in the Kasaya had a legit shot of making it to the end. I don't really agree with that at all.
What I do find interesting is that the final four that Shane tells Terry, he lumps Courtney in, he lumps Suri in over Danielle, which I found very interesting because Danielle was always like their fourth. So I was kind of surprised, like when he said that to Terry, and then Terry's like, "You want to make a bet?" And then I love that Terry uses that as like his motivation going forward. But I was just very interested that like that's who he said as his fourth, because like maybe that did kind of like hint in that like Bruce was always the guy that they were never going to use, or that they were just going to use and then get rid of. But maybe Suri and Danielle and Courtney and Shane, they really didn't know what was going on. Maybe Aris was the only one who knew what the hell was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. KL Rain says, does Dan remind anyone else of Danger Dave Ball from Samoa Little? I was confused him for some reason. Not really.
Not at all.
I do love Danger Dave Ball.
Yeah, I really like them both, but for very different reasons.
Yeah, because making love is Danger Dave's sport.
Oh, so good.
Continue.
Should we do the Giovanni comment?
Yeah, I had to refresh my page. So just
okay. Remember when Blake was here to promote his org? Well, it was fun. I highly recommend you guys do this again. BTW for all the rest of you. I played as Aubrey and got 2 votes again, just like her.
Yes, he
funny.
did. Our Giovanni made it all the way to the final 3 and lost.
Let's give a shout out to the winner.
Yeah, Noah Smith was the winner. He played as Alicia, like 15 years old or something. It's pretty crazy. It was fun. It got really fun. It was sketchy towards the beginning. We got really fun towards like final 8 or so. Got really funny. Giovanni like wasn't even a part of the season at the beginning, and then all of a sudden he just like showed up, and like he still doesn't know how to post IMG tags, which is really funny because that's like the one thing you have to know how to do on that season. He did it wrong like every single time and made it all the way to final 3 and still got 2 votes. But anyway, Noah Smith ended up winning. played pretty dope. It was actually really, really entertaining to watch.
Awesome.
And Blake was the man. I'm going to keep giving Blake his damn shout outs. I feel like I owe him stuff because he pretty much ran that fan while I watched from the sidelines. And Alexa, did you even watch from the sidelines?
Yeah, I commented a couple times.
Yeah. Blake.
No, I didn't comment much, but I watched because I like don't know how to navigate those pages because they're from the 1800s.
Yes, thankfully Blake like knew what he was doing, but I loved when Blake would get mad. He'd be like, "How do they not know how to do this?" I'm like, "Blake, this website is from like 1497. Like, get out
Yeah,
of here."
it's like this is like the most non-user friendly thing ever.
Yeah, but he's used to it, so he killed it. He was easy for us. Gamer Girl says the Austin Boot episode made me do a complete 180 on Aris and Sally. I now see why both Phil and Dalton Ross like Sally. As for Aris, I question why I had a crush on him back when the season aired. I now see why people rank him so low in winner rankings.
Okay. People like. I hope when people make comments that like if you guys don't like Aris, if you don't like what did Arcs 13 say you didn't like tell us why, because Phil and I just like talked about why we think Aris is doing much better. So we want to know.
Alexa, do you know how the internet works?
I do. I'm trying to improve.
People don't back up their statements. What is wrong with you?
Alexa. I should tone down my logic, really.
I know. We need to just come on here and be like, Aris is bad.
Yeah, Aris, top 5 winner. Fight me.
Terry hates women. Except.
Gamer Girl. I also did a complete 180 on Courtney. I now love her. She's way better than my first time watching. She's my second choice from the season to come back that hasn't been brought back yet. First being Shane. I love Courtney. She's so entertaining. She's so harmless. I think she's so funny. I know people don't like her, and I know she's annoying, but I think I can't get over how much I like her.
I like that she brings out like the fire stuff, and like you guys want to learn, and like only Suri like goes over, which is so funny.
I know, but it's like Sally's like writing in her journal, Bruce is drawing, Terry's hanging up his flag, and she's just like fire dancing. Like it's so funny. I
loved when Suri's like, so they got this. Of course, Terry brings the American flag. Like
yeah, like of course,
so like duh.
Yeah. Terry brings his fighter jet.
Yeah, right. Lands it right there. Giovanni here has an interesting one that I actually think this is an interesting point. Aris wouldn't have won Panama if not for Terry. And I think this is so spot on because Aris's strength came out in his feud with Terry.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it gained so much respect that Aris was actually able to like keep that tribe together and also beat Terry. Like, or at least compete with Terry, whereas a lot of them couldn't. And I think that's where Aris gets a lot of his credibility. And I think that had it not been for Terry, Aris probably ends up getting booted once Kasaya starts eating themselves, or once somebody plays an idol, because they're not going to win as many challenges as Terry did.
Yeah.
The best thing for Aris is that Terry never loses.
Yeah, exactly. Giovanni again. Suri's very lucky in these merges episodes. She's always in the majority. That's not lucky. That is her playing her incredible social game.
That's what she does.
Yeah, that's what she does.
That's her move. Giovanni Ariana, does Courtney have a shitty apartment? I don't know, but that was funny.
That is so good.
That was funny.
That is freaking hilarious. Ethan Hazel, do you think they'll ever do a season of First Boots? No, I would love for them to, but they're not going to. And I get why they won't. I've like, as much as in theory I want it, like I get why they won't.
You don't.
I just want Mina to come back because I really like her.
Yeah. Arcs 13, I think we confirmed Phil has a man crush on Dan. I do. I think Dan's a great guy. I love Dan. And I really think that all of my theories about Dan make the theory about Dan and how his tribe would have went further makes 100% sense. My theory about him and why more people haven't come back from this season, I would say makes about like 50%. I'll give myself that much.
I'm glad. Yeah. Cause your first theory I'm all in on. The second one, I'm losing the steam fast on it, but you care about it. And that's really great. Bro Chacho, you've got to stop doing this at the same time as Big Brother. We don't watch Big Brother. And
this is the only time that I can really do it all week. So this works out perfect.
Yeah. So we're more important than Big Brother. Yeah.
We are. Giovanni Ariana, I'm putting Vanuatu higher in my rankings because I enjoyed it on my rewatch. Chris has a great final tribal council. Yeah, it's one of the greatest.
Welcome to the club.
Ever.
Welcome to the group that loves Vanuatu.
One of the greatest ever. When he pulls out that damn hat, it's still one of my favorite moments ever.
Brought your hat.
Like he could give two shits.
He was so sorry. Should we do this Russell the comment?
Yeah, I don't know. Was Russell the first one to play an idol on someone for someone else in Heroes versus Villains?
Cook Islands Idol wasn't played.
No. Fiji, it wasn't played because Yowman had it the whole time.
Right.
He doesn't play it on anyone, I don't think, right?
No, the Four Horsemen Idol gets played, but incorrectly.
Yeah. Did they play it on someone else, though?
I think they played it on someone in their own tribe, and they ended up voting for Edgardo.
So there you go. I mean, that's the first time that it would have happened then. It just didn't work.
Yeah. Who did they play it on? I think they played it on...
Mookie, right?
No, I think Mookie gave it to Alex.
Oh, yeah, because
Alex was like, give it to me. And
dropped
Mookie was
so
like,
hard.
Yeah, that gif is so good.
Amazing.
Yeah, of Earl just like at the end.
Gamer Girl, it's Aris' confessional that make me not as Aris fan. It makes him almost unwatchable. I actually think his confessionals are quite good.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything good. I just think they're very standard. They don't really stand out to me.
Yeah, I think they're fine. That's it for comments. Alexa, go to bed.
Yeah, you go cook some dinner or buy dinner. I don't know. So in the meantime, leave us a comment on this video because you people are on the internet and you should tell us why we are smart or why we are dumb. Either way, we'll read the comments. Tweet at us on Twitter at Survivor Specialist. We'll be back next week to continue throughout the merge, same time, Wednesdays, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. Yeah, tweet at us in the meantime, and we'll be back.
Yeah, and maybe I'll actually put this one up on iTunes because I didn't put the last one up. But you guys get us more viewers, and maybe I'll put them up on iTunes again.
I know, guys. Come on. This is really fun. Phil and I are, like, really enjoying this.
We'll get all of our viewers when people get tired of season 35 because they can't pronounce the title, so they go back and watch our rewatches.
Yeah, there we go.
I think the problem is just people don't know what's going on, Alexa. They just don't know what's happening.
I know. People, I tell you.
They're the worst. All right. See you Wednesday.